many people have been charting all along, but they're doing it silently. So once they kind of, coach the patient a little bit, like you're going to hear some numbers and then we're going to talk about it after. Those patients are so much more open to the same protocols that you've been telling them that they needed for the last 5 years. But once they hear it, they're like, oh, hang on, maybe there's like a problem here. And they're just so much more open to the education and just not having that closed off person. Then they make moves to, accept that diagnosis, accept that treatment, and get on their perio journey.
This is Growth in Dentistry, a dental intelligence podcast where we ask the question, what does growth in dentistry look like to you? I'm Katie Polson, a dental hygienist and your host. Welcome to Growth in Dentistry, a dental intelligence podcast. I'm Katie Polson. So happy to have you guys on again. Hey, if this is your first time listening, welcome to the show. We're just, this is like the best dental podcast out there, although there's over 150 for you to choose from. That's wild. But anyway, that being said, we have so much information. Go back. We've got some awesome episodes on some of our deep dive episodes, which are super interesting. So we interview some of our top 10% of our practices, go into a little bit of analytics and figuring out like how they did so well. Those are really great. We've got some DSO episodes, and we also have some episodes like we're doing today, where we talk to some amazing companies and key opinion leaders in the industry and try to solve problems to make your guys' lives easier. So that's really what it's all about. If you're back for more and this is your return listener, thank you so much. If you wouldn't mind going and rating and review this podcast, it helps a ton. If you are a fan of Facebook, that's where you like to hang out. Please join us there. We're on our Facebook Dental Intelligence community. We've got some great conversation going there every day. And also, what else do I have you? Oh, if you are not a current customer of dental intelligence and you want to be one, or you want to see how it could influence and affect your practice, we'd love to have you go to get.dentalintel.com/podcast. I'll make sure that link is in our show notes, and listeners to our show get a special $50 gift card when they complete a demo. Without further ado, I am just so pleased to have I just like, as a hygienist, like this solution, you guys are, do I have words? I do. And they're really great because I'm super excited about it. It's Bola AI, and Rushi Ganmukhi is the CEO, right? Do I have that right?
Yes.
And Tina
you got
Long,
it right.
Tina Long, who's a hygienist. What's your role, Tina, at Bola?
I'm the clinical operations person
Awesome.
here.
Cool. Anyway, awesome company. Tell us a little bit about yourselves and Bola.
Perfect. So yeah, thanks for having us, Katie. It's great to be on the show.
My pleasure.
And we love hearing nice things from hygienists. So much that's why we hired Tina, actually, so I can just hear nice things all day.
We're a hard bunch to really like.
Is. Loyal. If you get in, they love you. They'll give your product the feedback.
So true.
It's
true.
It's phenomenal.
Yep.
Yeah, so a little about me really quickly. Founder and CEO of Bola AI. My background is in AI machine learning, specifically in the language side of that. And that's, really how I got into Bola, how I got into starting this. That had that background and knew I wanted to start a company, and quickly saw that in the dental space, there were just so many different areas that voice technology could drive efficiencies in the practice management system. I sat in on a bunch of dental appointments, did the Perio charting. I think a few places let me be the dental assistant, even, and type it in, which was pretty fun. But I was quickly really able to see the need of the product as a whole, focused on just voice enabling the practice management system and giving efficiency back to all members of the dental office.
That's awesome. That's so great. Tina, tell me a little bit about your journey and how you ended up in tech like me. It's a weird space to be in as a hygienist, but
it is a very it's a big transition. Let's put it that way. It's just very different. So I worked clinically for about 12 years, and I'm with Bola now. This is my 4th year with Bola. I saw this first 4 years ago, this solution. I immediately fell in love, just like you did. And I said, like, this is the best thing since sliced bread. And I've been here ever since. So
awesome. So cool. Well, I mean, we've dropped the name a few times, but tell us a little bit about what Bola is for those that don't know.
Sure thing. So, I mean, when we set out to build it, the vision here is, like I said, is voice enable, create a voice assistant, think Siri or Alexa for your practice management system. Um, and specifically, we've started with voice Perio, voice enabling the Perio charting, allowing basically hygienists to not have to use a dental assistant or the hygienists themselves to save time. And we've moved into clinical notes, allowing both the hygienist and the dentist to enter their notes into the system over voice. And we've got some other cool stuff hopefully coming out in the next few months as well.
I want to hear about that, but we won't record that part. But I'm like,
sounds good.
I just think of machine learning and like the possibilities. I mean, we're seeing it really everywhere. Like AI is like the hot button. It's like, lasers of 15 years ago. It's like
It is
20 years ago, right? It's like AI. And so tell us, I mean, and I think Chat GPT has done a service to all of us, really, to understanding what AI is. But how is AI shaping dentistry and the future of it?
Yeah, we've seen, I mean, there's tons of AI companies you see every day, especially in dental. And most people think of the X-ray analysis, vision, computer vision, and things along that line. But I mean, we do fall into the same category using voice and language for that purpose. And what we see across the board is just like the number one thing I think I would take away is efficiency. Is Tina's explained to me many times, and I've seen many times just how busy a dental office can be. I mean, little 5-minute slots that you're trying to optimize, back-to-back patients, constantly on your feet. I mean, as I'm just sitting here as the CEO, I get to sit all day, right? Just being on your feet all day. I mean, that's its own issue. But I think it just drives efficiency across the board. And I'd say really that's the number one thing we see. And I think, Tina, even you were explaining to me yesterday a new technology you saw, and it just like blew my mind.
Yes, I think you're right. AI is all around us, and they keep coming out with more and more things. The X-ray thing was awesome, but also now they are. I was reading a paper about the soft tissue that somebody is having AI analyze the lichen planus lesions to determine, is it truly lichen planus or is it something else?
Oh my
So
gosh.
they're looking to move that forward. It's super exciting. It's super
The
exciting.
possibilities of that with oral lesions and oral cancers and things like that. That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's huge.
It's a fun time to be in dentistry. That's for dang sure. Yeah, I'm loving it.
Yeah.
That was not a McDonald's reference,
Well,
but I am loving it. It's really awesome. So, did I maybe cut you off, Rushi? Do you have something else to add?
No, I think,
okay,
yeah,
awesome. Okay.
exactly what Tina was saying.
Yeah, it's so cool. So let's, I mean, I think it's pretty, for those that kind of understand AI, it's going to be pretty easy for them to understand how like revenue could be added pretty easily to a dental office. But I'd love for you to talk about that piece of it. And because ultimately when you're going to add a software, you want it to help you create efficiencies like you've already talked about, but then also help the bottom line of the practice, which so talk a little bit about that. And there are some statistics that I think are incredibly like jaw-dropping, at least for me as a hygienist. I was like, wow, like if this can do this, then this is pretty incredible. So
awesome. Yeah, so in terms of revenue, we really see, like I mentioned, the efficiency is probably the first thing we see. That doctors, hygienists, dental assistants are just more efficient. They can do more with less. And especially, I mean, we're still in the COVID, kind of post-COVID world. I hate to say it. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I know there's a lot of issues around staffing and hiring as well. And so, yeah, by creating efficiency, we're seeing that hygienists and dentists are basically able to do more with their time. They're able to spend it on patient education. They're able to do more thorough or frequent chartings. All the stuff they love to do. And I mean, they've been in school for many, many years and they're trained professionals. So by freeing them up from doing the mundane, they're able to do what they love and what can actually generate revenue for offices.
Yeah. Awesome. I mean, we talk about it a lot on the show just because as a dental intelligence is a software, we talk about automation all the time of like, what, you know, what can you do to automate and make the lives of the people that are in your, on your team easier. And this definitely fits into that category of making things, increasing better time management. And I think a lot of people, especially like since January, I think people are starting to realize, okay, maybe my staffing issue is not going to be solved by getting an actual human body it working for me. I need to start looking for other avenues and other solutions to do that. And gosh, if that could make my notes faster, ugh, anybody that's ever written a note will know that, I mean, it takes, I mean, like, I don't know how many times. I mean, if I saw 20 patients in a day, that's like, you know, an hour and a half to 2 hours at the end of the day for me to write notes. It's ridiculous.
And it's really repetitive too.
Super repetitive, especially
It's
like
not
hygiene, copy and paste. Oh my gosh.
exactly. It's not
I have a story for you. I'm going to tell you after we got, oh my gosh, of copying, pasting notes, guys. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You just can't continue to, do the same thing 2 and 3 times, even with the perio charting, if you're doing it alone, you're writing it on a piece of paper, then later you put it in the computer. If you have time, you're handling that same task time and time again. It's just not efficient.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Tina, will you go into some of these statistics, the perio diagnostic percentage of like 103%, and then like maybe in the 99% accuracy? Because really, like, I think the first thing someone's going to think of is, well, that's all fine and well, but like I may have tried something like this in the past back in the day. Like I know that I was like trying voice something and I was like, this is useless. It's not working. Like, and also I'd rather just not chart. Just kidding. But really,
Yeah.
like, yeah. I mean, hold on. Like, to be fair, like really, how many of us, like in all honesty, I'm being super vulnerable here on a recorded line. Like I would not chart as well because it takes too much time. We would do PSRs because that's how we handled it because it just took too much time. So
Yes.
yeah. Anyway, that was efficiency again, but really, okay.
Yeah. And you're not alone.
Yeah.
You're not alone. Everybody's doing PSR, at least to get a kind of an idea of like, what am I into here? But what we found was if you can have a super accurate voice system right for you, like when it makes sense, this is the thing too, like, they don't always have somebody that they can grab to write for them. So, you need something to help you because if you're doing it by yourself, I mean, it would routinely take me like 10, 15 minutes if I'm doing it myself, going back and forth to the computer and, throwing the glove away and all that, and just trying to get it in the computer as I go. So when we studied this with a large group, we found that if you remove that pain point of doing it yourself and having it go back and forth, what happens is they will chart more often because it's more efficient. They can just get it right in there. They don't have to type, they don't have to click, they don't have to do any of that. And we also learned that not only do they do more charting, like on more patients, but the charting that they do is much more complete.
Yeah. I
Because
don't
they
doubt
have
it.
the time. Yeah, they have the time. It's a quick, one phrase and it marks the chart for you. So
are they able to like chart like mucogingival junction and like all of that business?
you can do pocket depths, recession, bleeding, mobility, furcations. It does the clinical attachment for you because everything happens right in your PMS system. So it's a very complete perio chart.
Wow, that is incredible. I'm just thinking even like I taught dental hygiene at the VA hospital for 7 years and like having to sit there and chart for a student. I love you, but you take 35 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually,
like,
for a student, 35 minutes, that ain't bad. I think
I know
my
that's
first
true.
15 hours. Do my first patient.
I know for sure. Well, and then also let's talk a little bit about like there's something to be said about saying those numbers out loud to a tech, to a voice that does something for case acceptance. And maybe you can speak to that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was kind of like discovered as we got underway with this study that when the patients start saying like, "Hey, what are you doing? Is this something new?" And
Mhm.
many people have been charting all along, but they're doing it silently. So once they kind of coach the patient a little bit, like you're going to hear some numbers, and then we're going to talk about it after. Those patients are so much more open to the same protocols that you've been telling them that they needed for the last 5 years. But once they hear it, they're like, oh, hang on, maybe there's like a problem here. And they're just so much more open to the education and just not having that closed off person. Then they make moves to, accept that diagnosis, accept that treatment, and get on their perio journey. So
Wow. That's
yeah.
really powerful. And it doesn't surprise me. I mean, really, if I think about the way, again, if I'm not doing a PSR, then I have someone coming in and charting, and it's typically because I
Mhm.
already know that they have periodontal disease. But if I'm
Mhm.
doing a full mouth chart on every single patient because it's easy, then I for sure don't say it out loud. But this makes you say it out loud, which is
Mhm.
great. Because
Yeah,
otherwise, like I remember in school they'd be like, "Well, say it out loud as you're charting by yourself." I'm like, "That's weird. That's
yeah,
awkward." Like
That
yeah,
is
like
weird.
like I don't want to do that, and that's weird for the patient. But if you're
Mhm.
telling them like I have to say it, I'm saying this out loud because it's charting for me, right? And then
Mhm.
maybe they feel no, they don't feel like, well, she's saying it out loud because she's trying to make me feel bad, right?
Mhm.
It's more like she's saying this out loud, and then they have like this self-discovery at the end.
exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly.
So interesting. It makes me want to go back and use this in my chair like today.
Yeah.
Um, awesome. Well, so I mean, I can imagine what it would do for like the lives of like my life, but like, can you give us some use cases on like how it's made the lives of clinicians easier? If you've got any stories, I don't know. I'm a big story person, but I mean, I
Oh
could tell
yeah.
you.
Tina, I'll let you go with that one. You are
Yeah,
Tina's best friends with all our customers, basically.
Good.
yeah, yeah. I talk to the customers quite a bit. I do hear, like you mentioned earlier, I hear about their shortages. I hear that they're looking for help. It's great for them because, the assistants are now also, very busy. They have a million things to do as well. Front desk, they're short as well, sometimes one or two people. So they're also very busy. And if this can just help them smooth things out, that's what I hear a lot. Like, I love this because, I can do this when it's good for me, when I know, okay, now I want a perio chart before I scale, after I scale, whatever your workflow is. And you don't have to like pull somebody else in or say, oh, could you write for me? And then they really can't do it at the beginning or the end of your appointment. So you're like
Mhm.
halfway through the scaling and then they're coming in. So you have to stop what you're doing and then go back and do that other task and then resume. So they really like that it gives them that freedom to do it when it makes sense for them.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me, especially like,
Yeah,
if you've got a doctor that wants to come in and do an exam in the middle sometimes when it's convenient for them, which is fine. But like you'd like to have that charting done before. But if you're at the mercy of
absolutely.
someone coming in to chart for you, then it may not be done, you know?
Right,
Yeah.
right. And then it goes back to like, okay, now doctor's already done the exam. Now I found some stuff. I have to go find him and
I
say,
know.
hey, I
Such a
think we're going
weird
to do this.
conversation. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
just, yeah,
The flow, the patient flow and the
exactly.
freedom to be able to just do it whenever you want. Yeah, that's awesome.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, wait, geez, half an hour just go by so quickly when I'm really interested
When
in
you're in
this
this,
topic.
love it.
So let's talk a little bit about, because one of the things that stuck out to me when I was reading about you guys is like the onboarding process and like getting set up with the software. Just my own experience and then also working for dental intelligence, like I understand that onboarding a new software can be incredibly scary. I mean, it's the reason
Mhm.
why most practices will never switch from their practice management software, even if they
Mhm.
hate it, because it's just too painful. So,
So true.
like,
So true.
yeah, what's it like to onboard? I mean, I think AI in general is a little easier to onboard just with the way that things are set up. But what's it like to onboard a new practice for you guys and getting people off and up and running?
Yeah. So Yeah, I mean, it's a great point. And I think when we were talking to people before we built the solution, all of them are like, yes, I want this thing. I love it. But can I get my hygienist to use it? Can I get
Mhm.
my DA to use it? Right? We theoretically know we like it and we want it, but we've
Mhm.
got to, is this going to take 2 months to implement? Is it going to, how much education are they going to take? How much training are they going to take? Like those questions just really are the barrier to sales.
Yes.
Or hopefully were the barrier to sales for us. And I think just like you mentioned, Katie, with all AI software and all the companies, what we've seen who do this have, I think, put a pretty big premium on the onboarding process.
Mhm.
That make it easy, get them to start small, right? With Perio, we know 90% of it is bleeding, GM, and pocket depths. If you can do that, you'll be happy, and then you can learn the rest along the way. So I think it's about starting small, getting out there quickly, getting those few quick wins, hearing back from the office the same week, like, great, my DA can now go do this. And I love it. And now two more of the team loves it. And I'm going to be onboarding them myself next week. That's a golden sentence to us.
Right. And
So
for them to be able
just
to
making the,
onboard themselves or like to
yes.
onboard, because that's another barrier. I mean, talking about staffing shortages, how many of you have, trained someone for on a software, then 3 weeks
Mhm,
later they quit to go somewhere else, and then you have to start
mhm,
over.
mhm,
So if it makes it difficult to get them onboarded into this solution, then it's like, do I even want to use this? So
mhm.
that's really cool. Yeah.
I do.
Exactly.
I do have to say that the engineering team has been extremely sensitive to the technology adverse hygiene teams that we've worked with. It's just kind of, it's almost like in us, like we're almost like adverse to technology, or maybe it's the change to technology, but
Mhm,
they've made it very simple. Like the whole onboarding, the first part of the onboarding is like a 10-minute training that'll get you right off the ground. So it's not like this huge investment that someone has to like spend all day doing it
mhm,
because that's
Yeah.
just not, who's going to do that?
mhm,
Yeah, and I think also we're so like I think everyone's creatures of habit, right? I mean that's human nature to like I have my process. This is what I do. I start on
Yeah.
the lower anteriors, and then I go up to the molars, and then we talk about hygiene, like whatever it is, And if I have to add one more thing to that flow that I'm already
mhm.
in, then like I don't want to do that. So
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah, and so I don't even know if it's being technical. I mean, we might be technology adverse, but I think it's also just like don't mess with my system. I've been doing this for
Mhm.
15 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've been doing this. It's perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know exactly where everything is. Don't mess with like my
yeah,
post-it notes, right?
exactly. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if it takes a little while for people to learn, but they will. I mean, because
Mhm.
I mean, right now we might be in an early adopter phase with AI, but just like your iPhone, everyone has one now, but at one point it was very new,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Exactly.
awesome. This has been so interesting, and I love to see how AI can again um in a different way other than imaging, through language can make the lives of dental practices better. I'm excited to see where it goes from here. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
sure Perio is just the tip of the spear. So
Exactly.
that was pun intended. All right. What
Dental
does
fun. I love
oh my
I
gosh.
love it.
What does so the question we ask every single guest of our show is what does growth in dentistry mean to you? And it's because growth means something different to everyone. And I'm excited to hear what it means to you. So, what does growth in dentistry mean to you?
Perfect. Tina, you want me to go first?
It's totally up to you. I know what it
I'll
means
go.
to
Probably means something different to both of us, Tina.
you.
But I think, Katie, it's what we were talking about earlier. It's the efficiency, and doing more with less, but not in a bad way.
Yeah.
Not eking out more hours and more sweat and tears from everyone. It's doing more with less, and um, like we talked about. I mean, post COVID and hiring and just I know there's a lot of growth in the dental industry in terms of revenue and what's expected of individual dental offices with all these DSOs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's getting more out of it. And I think it's really I want to just make sure I'm not saying not saying it in like a turn of the century industrialist way. I'm saying it in that these type of technologies can help you. And I do think it's one of those things. It's like a rising tide helps all ships. Like every single team member benefits, the patient benefits. There's no losers in this equation. So it's a really nice thing. And I know some dental offices have really jumped headfirst into it, and we expect to see more and more in the future.
Yeah. Awesome. Tina, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, I do love that point that Rishi was making, that it's, it's good for the clinician because it makes her life easier. It's good for the office, and it's good for the patient. But I think that these technologies that are coming now will lead to better patient care and maybe an elevated standard of care and meeting that standard of care. So yeah, that's where I hope that this technology brings not only dentistry, but medicine as a whole.
Yeah, I see it. I for sure see it. It's such an
Yeah.
exciting, like I said earlier before, it's just such an exciting time to be a part of this, this weird little dental world that we are part of, but
It is.
it really is so fun. Well, thank you both so much for joining the show. For those of you that want to get more information about Bola, you can go to www.bola.ai. I'll make sure that link is also on our show notes. And anything, did I miss anything else? I think we're good, right? Yeah.
No, thanks for
Okay.
having us, Katie.
Oh,
It's been great.
it's seriously been my pleasure. It's so exciting. Well, guys, this has been Growth in Dentistry, a dental intelligence podcast. Special thanks again to our marketing department for all their work on this show. I'm Katie Polson. Keep growing.